What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So in this video I want to bring you a quick 5. These 5 in particular are my personal 5 favorite designers that have been released thus far this year. Now there's been some good stuff, but if I had to pick, and that's what I'm doing actually, if I was to pick just the 5 that kind of speak to my taste the most, that I just enjoy wearing the most, enjoy smelling the most, it's these 5. Stay tuned. Starting with one that just recently dropped, Azzaro The Most Wanted Eau de Toilette Intense. So you do get the Most Wanted's DNA here. You get kind of that toffee sweet smell. It's not too spicy, but the difference here is it's a very powdery aromatic. Not so much soapy, but it's kind of this soft, fresh, inviting, powdery nature. It's actually, for what it is, kind of sensual. I could see where this would work in evenings, like most of the line is more evening appropriate. But here it's just, it's a little bit more playful, if you will. Not that the others are all that serious either, but I don't know, it didn't smell exactly the way I anticipated the first time I sniffed it, but it was a pleasant surprise. And I think the more people give this an opportunity, as long as you like powdery fragrances, because I can't shortchange how powdery this is enough. It might be too powdery for some, but mixed with the Most Wanted's DNA, the black bottle, that one specifically, with that sweetness, a little bit of spice, and then that beautiful aromatic powdery nature, it's actually pretty good. It's worth checking out in my opinion. I'm a fan. It's Azzaro The Most Wanted EDT Intense. For me, this is designer release of the year. Nothing's come out since that I want to put above it. Obviously this isn't ranked, otherwise it would be number 1, but Boss the Scent Elixir. I love this one. It has this red pepper spice, I believe it's pimento, that's reminiscent kind of Spice Bomb Infrared, mixed with the Maninka fruit of the Boss the Scent line. It's a little woodsy. It even comes across a touch like ambery boozy, the way the Maninka fruit comes across, kind of like how it's done in the Absolute Flanker, if you will. Still has the distinctive fruitiness of Maninka, however you say it, but this is an absolute stunning fragrance. This is so good. Cooler weather, this shines. Evenings, this shines. It is just so good. Great performer. Really is easier to get now, more widely available from discounters and such. I'm going to try to have links to everything down below as best I can. Certain things like, one of these in particular you can only get from the brand. Another one's still hard as hell to find in the States, but 2 of them actually, because they're just so recent. But, man, if you haven't smelled this yet, you're missing out, especially if you liked anything about any of the previous releases. Again, that's Boss the Scent Elixir. This next one I just got, and I'm digging it because I'm a fan of the original. I'm a fan of the flankers, just the line as a whole. This is the one I was saying at the moment you got to get it directly from the brand's website, which is where I got Rabanne's Invictus Parfum. And yes, it's no longer Paco Rabanne, it is Rabanne, according to that R right on the top. So what this is, and it shares the gradients of Legend, seems like most people are relating it to Invictus Legend. I totally get it. It has that saltiness of Invictus Legend with a big dose of the original's DNA, which it should. It's called Invictus Parfum. Why wouldn't it smell like? I would be disappointed. I'd be kind of pissed off, honestly, if this didn't smell like Invictus, just a newer rendition, a richer take. I'd be kind of pissed off because then it wouldn't be Invictus Parfum. That wouldn't make any sense, you know? So I love that it stays true to DNA. You get a little pinch of aqua thrown in there, but it's more Legend meets the original, because you get kind of the saltiness. You get a little bit of the herbaceous kind of green element of Invictus Platinum. I see people wanting to relate it to the Victory fragrances. I don't really get that. I mean, I think that's a reach with, I guess, maybe the sweetness and the dry down. But this is also not as cloyingly sweet as the original Invictus. It's still sweet. It still smells like Invictus, but I don't even want to say it's a muted sweetness, because it's still Invictus bubblegum sweet, but it's not as kind of scratchy. I think that added richness is really what kind of smoothed things out. I think it's the best one. I really do. I think it's the best version of Invictus, true to the original. Now, I could see an argument for Victory Elixir being the best in the line as a whole, but it's also the one that smells the absolute least, at least in my opinion, the absolute least like the original Invictus, whereas this is straight up Everything I thought it should be and hoped for. Great longevity, not overwhelmingly strong in projection. Sillage is decent on it. This is good stuff. This might be my number 2 behind Boss de Scent Elixir now that I'm thinking about it. It's Invictus Parfum. Now this is the one I was saying, still kind of hard to find. Came out a few months ago. Still kind of hard to find. I was fortunate that when Fragrance Buy stocked it for a brief moment, I was one of the lucky ones that was able to get a hold of it. It is Le Beau Paradise Garden from Jean-Paul Gaultier. I literally wore it this past week at the recording of this. It has that tropical coconut, tonka bean, powdered sweetness of the original's DNA with this, the way the ginger comes across to me, it's like actually cutting ginger to cook with, like a more realistic ginger smell. For a heavily synthetic fragrance, it's kind of surprising, honestly. Oh, but I love it. A little bit of fresh spice. It's a very green fragrance. Beautiful for the spring. I mean, it's going to work totally fine in the summer as well, but this is definitely the most spring appropriate. That mild, warmer weather, not really all that hot, but mild and warm. Have some cooler mornings and evenings. This really suits it. Great daytime fragrance. Again, you have to like the sweetness. It is on the synthetic side. There's nothing realistic or natural about the smell. It does smell chemical. But all 3 of them do, honestly, in the line. Performance is above average, not the beast that the Le Parfum can be. I would say kind of on par, maybe a little bit stronger than the Eau de Toilette. This is good stuff. Anytime you can get your hands on it, get a sample, get a decant, whatever. I'll have a link to where I got it from below. Click notify me. It's not in stock currently, but click notify me so when they get in stock, you can grab it. If you want to get it from Fragrance Buy like I did, they will be one of your better bets at getting it when stock becomes more readily available. But man, this is such a great release. I was highly anticipating this one, and it delivered for me. This is Le Beau Paradise Garden. This next one just came out. I actually bought it from overseas, and I think it might have just got to the States. I'm not sure. I have to check. But at first, I was like, might be a little bit of a letdown. Then, because I did a first impressions video, sprayed it on my hand, went to the gym, was loving it, pumping off my hand. Ended up wearing it as my scent of the day when I got back. Boss Bottled Elixir, but the Triumph flanker. So Boss Bottled Triumph Elixir. This one I thought was going to be fresher than it is, but when you look at Boss Bottled Elixir versus Triumph Elixir, this is a fresher take. I gotta say, it feels like they loaded it up with aromatics, and they don't list them, and you get a hefty dose of violet leaf. And that violet leaf accord that you get in the top smells like every violet leaf heavy fragrance you've ever smelled. So you're going to relate it to a lot of things. You're going to relate it to things like Fahrenheit, and I mean, Fahrenheit's the first thing that comes to mind. Like Ferragamo, the original in the line. Ferragamo that came out in 2020. That's another violet leaf heavy one. It's because violet leaf's so prominent, so heavily dosed in here, you can't help but think of those fragrances. But when you look at everything else that supports the violet leaf, it's nothing like those fragrances. The tie-in is that heavy violet leaf, because here it goes into that resinous incense dominant smell that they don't list from the previous version, Boss Bottled Elixir. Just because they didn't list it and they only gave you 3 notes, it doesn't mean the original formula is not there. It's flankered from a specific formula. I totally smell the original one here. It's just a more aromatic, fresher, more metallic twist on it with more sweetness. Not overly sweet, but there is a nice sweet tone to this, and it's immensely powerful. It's a very earthy and green vetiver patchouli combo, because they give you violet leaf, vetiver, and patchouli as the 3 notes listed, and you do smell all 3 of those. I think because they are the most prominent 3 notes, that's why they give you those 3 notes. But like I said, very sticky, resinous, incense-heavy aroma, kind of hovering throughout. It's the core of this fragrance, but overall fresher. Dries into woody and earthy green. It's actually quite nice. Almost surprising, if you will, that it's a Boss Bottled flanker, if I'm being totally honest here. Nuclear performance, too. It's kind of wild how strong it is. It's Boss Bottled Triumph Elixir. Well, that's the real quick rundown of my current 5 favorite designers released so far this year. There's a bunch of good stuff. I have Jasada Titanium coming in later today. That could have went in here. I don't know if I would have waited. Maybe it would have made it. I don't know. I just got Polo 67. It's good, but it doesn't deserve to make this top 5. And so on. I'm constantly getting the new releases as best I can, because the last 2 years have been great for releases, especially with designers. I think anyways. Looking forward to Spice Bomb Dark Leather later at some point in this year. And until next time, do me a real quick favor, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, because I do appreciate all the feedback and I love hearing from you guys. How many of you tried any one of these 5 or multiple ones? What do you think about them? Let me know down below. And until next time, I will say if you get your hands on any of my 5 personal favorites that have came out so far this year, give them a spray now. You might end up thanking me later. Have a good one, guys.